guys, it's Kristen here today with part 2 of my book haul. So I put up the first part of this book haul kind of a long time ago now, and I will link it below if you haven't watched it already. And then I meant to film the second part right after, but then Genrethon came up and it just kind of took over everything and I forgot about it for a while. But now we are here today, finally. And most of these books are ones that I specifically requested from publishers for review, so I'm very grateful that they sent them to me, but then I also have a few that I picked up on my own. And I seem to have acquired a few more books since the last haul, so this is gonna be a little bit larger than I thought it would be, but that's okay. So let's get right into the books and start with one of my favorites, and it is Ghostly. This is a collection of ghost stories that were compiled by author Audrey Niffenegger, and she wrote one of them herself. And some of the authors included in this collection include Edgar Allan Poe, of course, Edith Wharton, and P.G. Wodehouse, Neil Gaiman, Kelly Link, Ray Bradbury, along with many others. And Niffenegger gives an introduction at the beginning of each of these stories, and she also did the illustrations for the cover as well as these gorgeous end papers. I just can't get over how much I love these. And the back one, they have them as well, but in white. I'm just in love with everything about this book, and I swear the minute that fall hits, I will be starting it. Next, I got the novel Jane Steele by Lyndsay Faye. This is a new release book, and they say it is a retelling of Jane Eyre, but from what I've heard, it's more just inspired by Jane Eyre, except for the character Jane Steele is a sort of vigilante serial killer. The first line of the book is, "Of all my many murders committed for love and for better reasons, the first was the most important." I don't know about you, but I am already completely hooked by that line alone. And instead of the line in Jane Eyre, which is, "Reader, I married him," the line is, "Reader, I murdered him." I believe it's set in the same time period as Jane Eyre, but given a more modern update where a lot of the characters are people of color and also LGBTQ characters in the book, and my friend Joss will not stop raving about this. She said it's just absolutely amazing, so I trust her judgment on this one. And one of my nonfiction books, because you know me, I love my nonfiction, I got The Almost Nearly Perfect People, the myth behind the Scandinavian utopia by Michael Booth. And this is obviously about how the rest of the world perceives these Scandinavian countries as basically perfect. It feels like they can't do anything wrong. They have the best education systems in the world, they have the happiest people in the world, they're the most environmental, but of course nothing can be as perfect as it seems. So I believe the author, he goes through each of these Scandinavian countries and kind of describes what it's actually like to live there. Though I'm not gonna lie, this book is gonna have a very difficult time trying to convince me that my dream home is not in a quaint little Danish town. Like, I swear, other than London, which is my favorite city in the world, if I had the opportunity to move to a Scandinavian country, I would take it in a heartbeat. So we'll see if this book can maybe shatter some of my illusions about that. And speaking of perfect, I have the novel Perfect Days by Raphael Montes. He is a Brazilian crime writer. I believe this is his first book that's been translated into English, and it was translated by Alison Ontrekin. This is all about a young, very strange medical student named Teo who decides to kidnap the girl of his dreams and then go on a road trip across Brazil. I'm not really sure. It sounds very similar to You by Carolyn Kepnes, which I just read last month and really enjoyed, and ever since finishing it, I feel like I need to fill the void of a creepy stalker character. Next up, from Putnam Publishing, I got the first 2 books in the Blake and Avery series. The first one is called The Strangler Vine, and the second book is called The Infidel Stain by M.J. Carter. These are mystery novels, which I've said before is a genre that I definitely haven't delved into too much, but I really want to. And the first book is set in India in the 1830s when the British East India Company was basically ruling over the country, and when a very wealthy and powerful person goes missing, the 2 detectives, Blake and Avery, are set on the case. And then for the sequel, The Infidel Stain, obviously I'm not going to look into what the plot is because I haven't read the first book yet, but all I know is that they go back to London and it's set a few years later. And this is another one where these covers are just stunningly gorgeous. I can't get over it. Both of them are incredibly beautiful. Last up, for the books that I was sent by publishers, I have The Children's Home by Charles Lambert. From reading the synopsis, this one is a little bit confusing and a very strange book. I believe it is about a man who has become very reclusive and lives on his large estate until one day 2 children show up at his door and he lets them come in and stay in his home, and then more children start showing up and they all seem to have some kind of ability, or they disappear, or they know things about his past. And what really intrigued me in the description here is it says how it is an inversion of modern fairy tales like the Chronicles of Narnia and the Golden Compass, in which children visit faraway lands to accomplish elusive tasks. But then the author is apparently writing it from the perspective of the person who is being visited. I've seen some mixed reviews about this one, but I'm still very eager to read it, and it's super short, so I'll be able to get through it very easily. Now I'll show you the last few books that I acquired myself, and I'm sure if you saw any of my Genreathon videos, you saw this one. It is 7 Brief Lessons on Physics by Carlo Rovelli. This is another one where I was definitely drawn in by the cover. I might not normally read a book about physics. I don't know if you can see it, how it glints off with the gold. I am just obsessed with this, and it is itty bitty tiny, hence the title being Brief Lessons on Physics. And I did already read this one for Genreathon and very much enjoyed it. He goes through what were the major advancements in the field of physics in the 20th century. And I love the author's passion for the field of physics and trying to show how beautiful it can be. And this line here just kind of encapsulates everything. It says, "Here on the edge of what we know, in contact with the ocean of the unknown, shines the mystery and the beauty of the world, and it is breathtaking." And obviously you can probably see from the size that this is meant to be a beginner's guide for people who know pretty much nothing about physics and just want to get an idea of the general concepts. Then my library had a book sale, and I decided to pick up the 4th and the 5th book in the Lemony Snicket series. The 4th book is The Miserable Mill, and the 5th book is The Austere Academy. If you've been watching my channel, you'll know that I have been slowly but surely making my way through the series. I never read it when I was younger, so I'm just experiencing it for the first time and really enjoying it. And also with this one, I thought it was so adorable. It has the little girl who owned it before wrote her name in it, and that's one of the great things about used book sales, is that you get these little personal touches. I'm very happy that I got to pick these up at such a cheap price. And last but not least, it would not be one of my hauls if there was not a mammoth non-fiction historical book. This is Guns, Germs, and Steele, The Fates of Human Societies by Jared Diamond. This is described as basically being the history of the world in less than 500 pages. Quite ambitious if you ask me. It was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, and I think it's focusing on how different societies throughout history developed, how so much of the history of civilizations was really dependent on what resources they had access to. Again, I am a total political / history junkie. I am fascinated by things like this, and I heard about this book though at Olive from a Book Olive's channel, so I will link her haul below because she always has the best non-fiction books. So that is it for all of the books that I acquired in the last few months. I probably won't be buying any more anytime soon because, as I've always said, I like to keep my TBR pile very small, but there was just so many new releases coming out and great library sales that I could not help myself, so over the next month or two I'll try to work my way through most of these. As always, I would love to know if you guys are interested in some of these books or if you have already read them. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!